Donald Trump announced that he's nominating Army veteran Pete Hegseth for as Secretary of Defense to replace retired General Lloyd Austin. Now, this pick has sparked a lot of criticism from the left and the establishmentarians, as reporter Joe MacKinnon recently wrote in a piece for Blaze News. He's here to break it down for us, along with Jason Buttrill. He's a Marine and head researcher for the Glenn Beck program. So, Joe, let's start with you, right? What is all the pushback? What have they been saying out there?
Well, after last week's landslide victory, elements of the federal caucusocracy realized that Trump meant business and he was going to execute what they're calling a purge. A great signal Tuesday was that he announced Hegseth to run the DOD, which just caused meltdowns among the usual suspects, but also a couple of the people deeper in the swamp. Now, I was saying to one of our editors earlier today that the establishment, the liberal regime, is postmodern in this. When they communicate, when they speak, they don't mean to convey facts or the truth. They mean to secure or acquire power. And so once you have that understanding in mind, you look at the responses from Adam Kinzinger and Rep. Adam Smith, all these individuals worried about the invisible hand of the military-industrial complex losing its musculature. When they attack Hegseth, and they have done so viciously, and executed lies of omission and just brazen falsehoods, ignoring his decorated military history, what they ultimately reveal is that they consider him a threat, and a threat to the bureaucracy, a threat to the status quo. And that's abundantly clear, not just from this pick, but from virtually all of Trump's new picks, including Gaetz this afternoon.
So this is an incredibly important and enormous job. I mean, the Department of Defense is an enormous monstrosity, some would say, Jason. I mean, it's hard for people to comprehend how big this apparatus is. And in walks this guy who they're saying, look, this guy's a talk show host. This is ridiculous. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I guess I would point to one of the experts that handled one of the first major military engagements of the Biden administration, Lloyd Austin, when he very skillfully conducted the Afghanistan withdrawal. Oh. You know, that was the expert action of all expert actions right there. You know, that's the establishment right there handed us a big win on that, ladies and gentlemen. That was great. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I don't even know if you can call it the Department of Defense now, because I mean, it is, but I mean, it's more like, you know, the military-industrial complex has taken over the entire Department of Defense. And there are so many agents within that that have their own agenda. And it is infested. It is like a disease, all within the Department of Defense, the entire military-industrial complex, that I do believe that it is time for a little bit of an unorthodox action to go on, to happen. I think Pete could be that guy. Can I say this, if I got some time here, is that I actually went through a kind of a range of a thought process when this came out. So normally when you have, a Secretary of Defense, it's either someone like a general that is like a staff level officer, something like that. Pete is not that. He was a mid-level officer. His thing is not knowing massive movements of troops and how to plan for multiple different major regional wars within, the globe and how to handle that. That's not his thing. Now, normally, if it's not your thing, it's okay. They'll like supplement it, like, have you been like a major CEO, something like that. You have a proven track record for, managing 10,000 employees, something like that. Remember back in the day, McNamara, he was considered like, what are you picking him for? Now it's kind of a standard to pick someone like McNamara. You pick someone like a big CEO, something like that can handle a company. You can handle the company, the Department of Defense. But again, Pete is not that either. So what exactly is he? Well, he's a guy that has been very vocal on things that are fundamentally wrong with the defense industry in this company or in this country. Well, it is basically a company. How do you fix that? Well, he's been huge off the top of that. You need to get rid of DEI. He's come right out and said, yes, he'll say the things that aren't considered popular, like women should not be in combat roles. Look, that's common freaking sense. That is common sense. There are certain things that a male soldier can do that a woman can't. I mean, it's just common sense. He will say those things. I think that I will say, so I had that first opinion, of my doubts. But then what I think is happening right now, what is the first thing that Lloyd Austin did when he took control? The very first thing he did was he stood the military down. Why? To root out all those dangerous white nationalists, Christian nationalists, supremacists out there. He stood the entire military down for that. Again, a fundamental problem. I think the very first thing is a counter to that. When Pete gets in, that's the very first thing he should do is a counter to that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the Secretary of Defense for the entire, 4 years. That's not uncommon at all. Get in there, fix the fundamental problems with what's going on. He's talked about how he's asking questions. Like, we have currently a 10-year backlog on ammunition for the places that we depleted all of them, places like Ukraine. We don't have a solution for that. He's one of the only ones that's talking about fixing that. Those are the types of questions that we need to answer. We have problems like DEI, woke military, a depleted recruitment force. No one wants to join the military. I wouldn't send my son to join the military right now. I think that he will help address those. Those need to be addressed right now. And I think he can help with that.
Yeah, definitely turn everything around before you get all the rest of the pieces in place, and you can put whoever else you want in there after Pete. But I see what you're saying there, Jason. The other big news of the day, Joe, is Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. That is the thing that everybody kind of has been talking about throughout the afternoon and evening. I want to get your take on what this news means for you.
Well, some have been discussing it as a troll cabinet, but I think it's something more. Last week, you had DOJ and FBI employees updating the resume because they expected big cuts, right? Even though Biden repealed the Schedule F executive order that Trump put out in late 2020, and they had a rule in April that would effectively shield bureaucrats from accountability. There's ways around it, meaning that Trump can laminate these agencies with pink slips. But someone like Gaetz, I think, signals a comeuppance, retribution. I believe there was someone, I don't want to misquote or misattribute, but an individual recommended that to make lawfare unthinkable, you had to go about ensuring mutually assured destruction. The only way to ensure Democrats will no longer hound their political opponents to try to throw them in jail, take them off the ballots, would be to go after them in kind. And I think Gaetz is the type of personality who might just do that.
Yeah, I think we should mention with Gaetz. I mean, I know it's blowing people's minds, and similar to Pete, right? It's like saying this guy, he doesn't have the normal Secretary of Defense, but Gaetz is not a dumb guy. This guy Gaetz is very sharp, and it does signal the same to me. I agree. I think this is about, no, we're going to come in and get you. And that's what you're saying, right, Jason, about what would happen with the Department of Defense. So let me throw an objection to that, because I don't want to waste time with the objection of, oh, these guys are not experts and they're outsiders. Good, right? Great. What if this is a democracy where the civilian people rule? That'd be amazing, right? So that's fine, right? We're not going to go to those objections. But there is an objection from a lot of people who are, sharp observers, and they would say, look, the problem is if you don't know where the bodies are buried in some of these large, monstrosities, these large, cargo ships that have been taken over by pirates, and you're going to go in and going to root all of them out, they're gonna run a number on you because that's what bureaucrats do, and they'll eat you alive. What do you think about that objection?
Just the fact that, so say that again. What?
So the idea would be, if you don't have more knowledge or experience, a more traditional, knowledge or experience, you won't be able to get a handle on it. And actually, you'll be the naive bumpkin who comes in and the bureaucrats will run one over on you.
Yeah, I'm fundamentally against this entire technocratic, expert-driven government. I am so done with it. What has it gotten us? Anything. And you know what? I mean, I remember there's, Reagan's famous Time for Choosing speech talked about, was so prophetic, even way back then. But he talked about this small intellectual elite in a far off land that knows how you should plan your lives, and they know better how that happens better than you do. That is total bullcrap. And clearly, the pool that we've been choosing from are that small intellectual elite out there that feel like they know better than you do. We're completely sick of it. We're tired of it. No, I think that if I don't know some of these conversations that they're having, within the White House, but clearly one of the fundamental prime directives they've been given is we are taking the barrel, throwing it out. This is a whole new barrel, and that is what we are picking our people from, completely to destroy that barrel, to shatter it. And we're doing it a different way. Really, the only way that you can do it, because it is so infested, like you talked about, Matt, is you have to have a completely different way of thinking. Now, it's not a completely different way of thinking what the Senate's doing right now, is it? It's not. Thune? No. That's the old way of thinking. I wish we could show that electoral map.
Yeah.
It shows it. It's entirely red. You have a mandate right now to think this way. You can pick the people that you want to pick to do it a different way, because the country has said, do it, please, do it that way. Do it anything except the way it's been done. Not those dudes. Kick them out. Get some new guys. Let's do something different. You have the opportunity now. And then the Senate goes with Thune. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent with him.
It's all good.
I'm just pissed.